to 50 or something like that.
Hello, everyone. This is Carina from Breakthrough Find Freedom. And if you've been following me, you will remember that Josh and I had this beautiful event a few months ago. So I thought today would be a perfect time to just catch up with Josh, because he's got so many beautiful things that have come out of this. And it's a perfect topic for Breakthrough Find Freedom, because we found so many things within the event, and I'll have the playlist at the bottom so you can watch it. We're not going to go into that, but we want to go aftermath 2 months or 3 months, nearly going into 3 months after the event. So let's do this. Hello, South African Josh. How are you?
Oh, that is I. I is magnificent. Thanks. What about thee?
I'm so awesome. Thank you. And thank you for being here. It's so cool to see you after 3 months and to just catch up, because you've been so busy flying across country and all sorts of exciting things that we haven't had time to catch up. So let's just tell me a bit about how things have changed since the event, and then let's go from there, because we really want to know what exciting things have come out of it and what you're doing right now. So many questions.
But that's wonderful, because life is a series of questions, and when one gets answered, the next one presents itself. You know, our old president, Nelson Mandela, he said, when you reach the top of one mountain, you see a bigger mountain behind it. There's always these new peaks to ascend. So
that's what makes life awesome. Exciting.
It does.
Sorry.
The shifts in perspective. So like after our event, there was definitely some sort of a shift that happened, and lots of us felt it, mostly the facilitators and some of the attendees as well. So it felt like maybe it was a seed that was planted, and as the seed dissolves, that can be quite the experience, maybe like a letting go of something energetically that was happening in a lot of our lives. And then stuff started to grow. And so there was kind of a dissolution process. And now actually I'm going to show you that Elizabeth sent us pictures of tomato plants that have grown from those seeds that we planted. We didn't even know they were tomato plants. And I like tomatoes, highest concentration of vitamin C. And so it's been a little bit like that in my life.
Sorry, and they're red, and it just promotes growth and life. Okay, so tell us a bit about, so that's the beginning. So things are starting to grow. So what's happening now?
Yeah,
what's growing?
I made connections with a few people who are at the event, and that's changed our trajectories as well. I've been involved in some new projects in Carlsbad, and there was another situation that was set up completely directly as a result of the event. So that I see that it is yielding these different fruits in these different arenas. Neurodiversity Gifts is something I've been working on for quite some time. So it's nothing new, but this is the latest kind of flourishing of it. It's like the tangible fruit, the tomato that you can hold in your hand. And so it's kind of like my magnum opus of, it brings together all of my experience, all of my travels, all of my education, all of that into a succinct little package that speaks to the power of seeing the world differently. Mental health in terms of zooming out and tapping into a larger worldview of meaning, purpose, and connection. So it's really cool to see it actually manifest as this product. It's a digital training. It's an online encounter workshop that we have. And it changes the game as well. Like now that you've got this kind of product, you're busy doing different kinds of events and different kind of social media engagements. And that's, I'm really enjoying the experience.
Nice. So I'm going to have to just ask you about, because I know you had an event where you launched this. So tell me a bit about that.
Yeah, that was actually last weekend. So we flew out to the University of Delaware. It was my first time on the East Coast in like 14 years or something. I forgot how different it is. I kind of like it. It was in a university town that university was built in like 1742 or something.
Wow,
so it really has this history. It was at the ISPS conference, so the International Society for Psychological and Social Approaches to Psychosis. So kinds of these pioneers in seeing the world of the mind in these different kinds of perspectives. And so Oryx Cohen, the CEO of the National Empowerment Center, and I flew out to host a table at that event, to do an encounter workshop at that event. We did metaphorical inkblot art, which we did at our event as well.
Nice.
People were loving it. It was really cool. And so, yeah, it was the official launch of Neurodiversity Gifts, and we got amazing feedback. Already someone's been through it, and they sent us just a stunning email about the impact that it's had. And to just collaborate with other professionals who are also moving in this direction is really inspiring. It's like me and you collaborating. It's like we come from the same country, but we didn't even know each other. And yet these paths have a similar kind of trajectory. And I think lining up with those kinds of paths shows you that there's a larger kind of intelligence behind it all. And that's what's really encouraging, because if it's up to us to figure everything out, it's like, oh man, that's way over my head. But when we know that there is a guiding force that's guiding us to people, to events, to different kind of pathways, then it helps us to just relax and enjoy the journey.
Yes, I love that. It's so, and it also allows your head to just like, come on, just rest, you know? So I think it was Fitzpills, one of the guys, who said, lose your head, you know, just take your head off, lose your head and live your life. And of course we need our heads for creativity and all that, but sometimes this head drives you crazy, and it like stops you from actually seeing the connections between things and allowing your flow. So how do you do that? How do you stop your head driving you insane? Well, sorry, excuse the pun.
Well, sometimes I like it when it drives me insane. Those are the interesting spots where you straddle the world between the sane and the insane, walk that line between. And I think that's kind of the way things are. If you look at things, it's kind of insane. we're all on this floating ball that's in the middle of nowhere, just spinning around and around. Like, this is ridiculous. So,
and we don't even fall off.
Sometimes I fall off.
Sometimes we do. Sometimes we do.
But the whole situation is just insane. Like, it's no one even knows what's going on. This is what I was saying to some of the professors who are at my table. It's like, hey, no one knows what reality is. Like, we don't even know what we are or what's going on. They're like, I know, no one knows what's going on. But it's true. People don't really think. We just get so kind of locked in this mode of being. And I think we're socialized into that. You were asking about how do we get out of our head? Well, I think when you're talking about your head there, you mean the left brain kind of linear construct. It's the trying to predict into the future, break things up into categories. And that, if we see that as a tool, it's a very helpful tool. It's allowed our species to be ridiculously successful in understanding the patterns of existence and stuff. But it's not who we are. It's just a tool. And I think, like, particularly within Western individualism, we've moved away from the right brain mode of thinking, which takes the big picture into account, which takes creativity and interconnection and luminous mystical experiences into account. And so I think the pendulum swung really far towards, through the Enlightenment with Descartes and stuff, towards linear thinking, left brain logic. But I think the pendulum's coming back to finding a more balanced perspective. What do you think?
Yes, I think so too. And just to go back to the event, how we brought the spirituality and the mental health together. And I know that's most of your paradigm. And it's so important because we realize that once you realize, like you said earlier, that you're not alone, and that, what do you know? Like, this is a small portion of what's happening in our lives. If we can just understand that and realize that there is a greater power that brings all these patterns together and creates this beautiful tapestry. Wow, it just changes everything.
It does.
Right?
Very
and
well.
Yes, and I just wanted to ask you, what did it feel like to be at this conference where you have all these higher level minds? Because, I mean, we're talking about minds and all their research and everything. What did it feel like to be in that kind of intellectual environment, arena, so to speak? Did it make a difference, and was there a lot of spirituality involved in that? And I know that's like multiple questions in one, but
I got them both, linear and non-linear at the same time. I love environments like that because the caliber of thinking and the caliber of open-mindedness is such that you can just kind of express your ideas. And normally people understand where you're coming from, even if they kind of disagree with things, they know what you're trying to say. Whereas I find a lot of the game, which is, it's a bit of a dance within regular society, is to meet people where they're at and to speak the language that they're ready to understand. But these are all psychological and spiritual professionals. And so you can really just speak. You don't have to worry as much about like concepts going over their head, stuff like that. So that was very cool, very influential people, and very spiritual. There was a whole kind of track that was about spirituality at this conference. And a lot of people were pointing that out, that it was different than some of the previous ones. But like the keynote speaker, he had his doctorate in ministry. He was the head of a seminary. And so he was talking about the power of faith and the power of church. He said, church is my mental health. Church is my psychological therapy. And there were a number of different panels as well, talking about the integration of spirituality and psychology, because I think mental health is not all that mental. It's not just about our mind. That's, again, the left brain breaking it up into mind, spirit, body, community. No, actually, I think thriving mental health is a pattern of harmony between these different aspects that make us up, the different aspects that make up the ecosystem of which we're involved. So it was cool to kind of be a part of that ecosystem.
Yes, that must have been so exciting. I wish I would have been just there, just to listen to that and to interact with all those people. And I understand, like with the coaching as well. Sometimes I don't realize that, when I'm speaking to some people, the concepts are like people. You have to get people to where they're at, because some people just don't understand the concepts because they're not ready to see them or hear them. And the beautiful thing about this as well is that how things have changed so much over the years is the mental health and the spirituality coming together as it should. Just like people are realizing that mind is not separate from body or soul. It's all one. So that must have been beautiful. And how did that change you?
I think firstly, just going to a new place changes me. Like, I come back different. When I came back to California, it was a minor mystical experience. Like, oh, wait, I see things slightly differently. I think the fish needs to leave the water to be able to come back to the water and recognize that it was in water the whole time. So the traveling experience, and plus it was a conference where it was really fostering that kind of creative thinking, that the conversations, a lot of them were like roundtable events, where everyone was contributing. It wasn't just a presentation. It was a mutual discussion where we each feeding into this liminal space that exists between us. And that thing starts to take on a life of its own. So having encountered that, then I see that that's happening everywhere. And I see that happening right here. We're both feeding into something that kind of transcends the sum of our parts. So that was cool about the conference. I think it just changed my understanding of the mental health field and the different peer-run organizations. I mean, there were some leaders of peer organizations here in California, and we're able to connect in those sorts of ways. So to see literally the states come together for these kinds of topics and the world come together, like the guy next to me was from Australia, and all he's been doing since he was like 17 is just cruising around the world, going to these conferences. And he has these dreadlocks, and he's like a real character, but a real intellectual as well. And so just to see that these kinds of topics, I think, can unite us. The theme of the conference was humanity in solidarity. And when we explore these things like you're doing through your channel and just like you do in your work, I think it brings people together. It brings hearts together. So it was cool.
Yeah, yes, I love that, because that's the main thing, if we can get hearts together. And and I love the idea, which is something that you don't really talk about, is the interaction actually, or the interaction here takes on a different form. So there's three of us within this whole conversation, which is so cool. And I think we saw that at the event as well, where we had me, you, the rest of the facilitators, and then the event. And that does take a life of its own, and you see how it spreads and it influences other people. So you have this beautiful ripple effect.
That was really tangible at our event. There was something else that kicked in, and we were certainly riding. I would imagine most of the participants were riding it. The people that I've spoken to afterwards have said that they were. There's this kind of altered state of consciousness, or this kind of higher leading that made things unfold in these deep and metaphorical ways. And that was just the start of tapping into that dimension, because that dimension's here all the time. And so all we did was start to gravitate a little closer towards that. And so then hopefully people bring that back into their daily lives. And then the next day is a little bit different. And there seems to be this guiding and this leading that wasn't there before. And I think we can tap into that right now. And that's kind of in a way what we're doing. So I think it's really cool how you said there's three of us here in the room. And that's what Jesus said. He said, when two or more are gathered, I'm there. Like, what? God is here. If we just, maybe our words can't quite do it justice, but there's something spiritual, there's something powerful happening even now.
Yes, yes. And that's another thing. It's the words. Sometimes the words, we can't articulate what it is because we can feel it. And even like as a writer, you come up with all these things, right? You still can't, it's something that you can't articulate, and you just have to feel it.
Yeah.
So,
well, William James was one of the experts on this topic. He wrote the book Varieties of Religious Experience in 1906, and he was neurodiverse himself, a Harvard researcher, very well respected. And his 4 criteria for mystical experiences, which means direct experiences of ultimate reality, one of them is they're ineffable. You can't put them into words. No matter how much you try, you always kind of fall short. And yet it's still worth doing, because words are little boxes that point towards a larger reality. They're just little pointers. Sometimes we mistake the words and the concepts for the actual thing. It's like mistaking the sign for Disneyland itself. We've arrived at the sign. No. The sign is just there to point you towards this larger, ineffable reality. So it's cool that you write, and I've heard this amongst authors. And I read Stephen King's book on his writing process. And he says he writes every day just so that he can get out of his own way. Because if he doesn't do that, then he's trying to like think through it. It's that left brain that's trying to compose the narrative. But when he practices just getting on front of the keyboard and just like letting it flow, eventually something else will kick in. And then it's not him coming up with his story. He's more of kind of a conduit that it flows through. And I think we're all story-making beings. It's the same with our lives. We can be this conduit that the story starts to flow into the lives of those around us through. Did you experience that with your book? What was that process like?
Yes. Always. I try and write every day. Even with the newsletter that I write, a lot of it is it just flows. So sometimes I have problems with that because I can't put there, but that's how I usually write. And it's so interesting that November is National Writing Month. So we usually have like, okay, the challenge is, are you going to write a 50,000 word novel in 1 month? So I've taken it the challenge to this month, and so I have to write 1,667 words every day at least, just for myself and for the writer, then do my other stuff. And it's interesting how I have so much, because I'm a pantser. I just write. I don't plan things very well as a writer. So every day I go in, and sometimes it flows, and sometimes it's like, but I just let it go. So I don't know if there's really writer's block. I think writer's block is again a concept that we've thought about in our brains.
Yeah, in Freud's model of the psyche, he thinks we're like icebergs, and only the tip of the iceberg is our conscious mind, and the vast majority is unconscious. He has this thing called the superego, which is this like kind of critical voice of society, voice of ourselves. And I think that could be the source of writer's block. It's like when you're trying to critique yourself before you're even writing, then you get paralyzed. Paralysis by analysis. And so I think if we could just quiet that voice of society, of course, we've got to be aware of other people and stuff. But if we're so worried about fitting in and we're so worried about keeping up with the Joneses, we miss that flow. We miss the ability to tap into that larger kind of guiding force. I think it was Maya Angelou who said, if you spend your whole life trying to be normal, you'll never be who you were designed to be. And said, I think that's cool that you don't experience that. And I think maybe that's a result of your travels or breaking fear and finding freedom. You've able to break even the restraints of this little voice within your mind that's trying to critique you. So that's cool.
Yes. But it's also just doing it. So being present on social media, doing these, having these conversations, and the more you do it, the easier it becomes, right? Totally.
People aren't as like judgmental, I don't think, as we think. Like what are they gonna think about all this? People don't really care that much. Like the ones who are watching, they kind of like the stuff anyway. And I think if we're just authentic to the message we have, the ones who are going to come alongside that will resonate. And if we're inauthentic to the message and we're trying to make everyone happy, it's so watered down that it doesn't reach our audience anyway. I think there's something to be said about just speaking your truth in the best kind of articulate way that you can, and then letting the cards fall where they may.
Yes. I love that, and that takes a lot of courage, but it's the easiest thing to do. We think it's not, but it isn't. It is. It's the easiest thing to do, rather than try and be something you're not, or to be the superficial person or pretend. So tell me a bit, now that we've gone totally off your subject, but coming back to tell us a bit about Neurodiversity Gifts, and how can people tap into Neurodiversity Gifts and South African Josh, right?
Well, that's a good question. I like that. They could go to southafricanjosh.com, which is where I live digitally. So what do you think? Do we have 3 minutes to watch a little trailer with some AI animation and stuff? Then that'll give people an idea. Okay.
Yeah, why not?
Why not?
Do it.
Let's do this then. Let's see what Neurodiversity Gifts is. Wow.
Okay, I'm going to add you.
I feel like a round peg in a square hole, and it's hard to know what to do with our different configuration. Hey guys, I'm South African Josh, and I've been there. 6 involuntary psychiatric hospitalizations, 2 arrests, blew $86,000 in my bipolar type 1. But I tell you what, I'm so stoked, just so stoked to share this with you. Because when I discovered the power of paradigm shift, fresh ways of seeing myself and the world, it was a game changer for me. It turned my mess into a message of metamorphosis. A message that mental health diagnoses don't have to be debilitating disabilities. Quite the opposite. They can be gifts if we learn how to harness them. And so I've teamed up with the National Empowerment Center to package this treasure of transformation for our community and to share an experience of this paradigm shift with you. It's my deep joy to present to you Neurodiversity Gifts. Step into the 7-part encounter workshop that weaves together insights from the Western world, like science, psychology, and philosophy, together with insights from the non-Western world too, like traditional cultures, spirituality, and mysteries, into this grand tapestry of the heroine's journey that empowers you to see yourself and your world in different, vibrant new ways. We'll flip the script and turn self-stigma on its head, unpacking the potential of post-traumatic growth, adding fresh meaning, purpose, and connection to your daily experience and the lives of those that you love and serve. It's brought to life using interactive art and visualization exercises, personality self-assessments, videos, discussions, and activities. Neurodiversity Gifts is endorsed by NAMI San Diego and has riveted participants at Mental Health America, ISPS, and Interfaith conferences. And I've had the joy and privilege of guiding hundreds of peers in San Diego County through Neurodiversity Gifts for the last couple of years, and it's been game-changing for them. They keep asking for more, and so here we go, the whole package. This video package experience and the fresh perspective it offers is knocking on your screen today. Let me out of the box so it can expand into your heart. Professionally produced by the team that brought you Healing Voices on Amazon Prime. Neurodiversity Gifts is a training experience like none before in both its content and its presentation, using immersive AI art from our human collective and shining colorful light on the diversity of mind and the gifts wielded by history's powerful neurodiverse, which are ours to harness and bring to fruition for the benefit of us all. Neurodiversity Gifts is available for individuals, for students and educators, mental health peers, for organizations as a profound cultural competency and diversity training. And licenses are available for you to bring recurring impact into your community and plant seeds of change where you are. This is a training we hope will change the world for the better. Go to power2u.org/neurodiversity gifts now to check it out. This adventure, this rich, nourishing fruit starts now, and it's going to be sweet.
I love it.
You like that?
It's going to be sweet. Okay.
Chow the watermelon heart. It's going to be sweet. It's already sweet. I'm having a grand old time, as you can tell.
Yes.
That's Neurodiversity Gifts. Had a lot of fun creating the curriculum, the training, that video, and it's an experience.
Oh, that's so cool. Yes. All the details will be in the description box below. And yes, South African Josh, thank you. We will, I'll put all the details in the description box, and everyone just go out and check this. This is awesome stuff. Thank you. Thank you, Josh. Thank you for everyone. And we'll see you all soon.
You're wonderful, Carina. Bye, everybody. Thanks for being here with us. Here's a little South African hug.
Yes.
Tot ziens.
Tot ziens.
Bye.
Bye.